Hey Thrivers, you're listening to episode 25. Today we're joined by local photographer Jen Minninger, who's here to share with us how faith plays a role in her business and what it's like juggling 5 kids ages 10 to 18.
Jen is an inspiration, and we can't wait to hear her share about her latest project, Restorable, and how she's using her gifts to encourage other women. We'll also be sharing favorite things, so grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and keep listening.
Welcome to The Thrive, a podcast for working moms. This is for all the women and moms listening. If you work from home, in an office, run your own business, or are the CEO of your family, this podcast is for you. Because at the end of the day, all moms are working moms. Rachel and Christine invite you to celebrate the victories, get advice, listen to their mom fails, and to know you aren't alone, to thrive in your everyday life.
Hey Thrivers, it's Rachel
And Christine.
This is episode 25 of season 2. That means this is our 50th episode. Did you know that?
Stop. This is a big deal, Jen.
Well, we want to welcome our guest, Jen Minninger, and she's a local photographer. She's a mom of 5. We are so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
On our 50th episode.
That is really
I just thought of that as
Very
we
cool.
were starting. I was doing the math in my head, and I'm not great at math, but 50 episodes, like I could do that.
25 and 25. That's how we teach quarters to our second graders.
And I feel like we've really interviewed such a variety.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are not the first photographer, but each person that we've had on our show has come to us with just a different background, a different story. And that's what I think has been so neat is that even though some people might, be labeled a photographer or, another type of creative or a speaker, or we've had a couple people that do young living. Everyone brings something different to the conversation, to the table.
That is too cool.
So we're excited to have you and hear your story. So Jen, why don't you introduce yourselves and let us get to know you.
Okay. Well, I am Jen Minninger. I just turned 40 yesterday. So
Happy birthday!
I'm hearing numbers this week. A lot of numbers 50 episode, 40th birthday, just a lot of 18 years of parenting. So I am a mom of 5 kids. My oldest is 18. Our baby is 10. And I was just sharing with the two of you how it flies by. And the days are long and hard and wonderful, and it flies by. It's all the above.
But to hear you say your baby is 10, I'm like, wow, you've been in the game for a while.
Yeah. So I was doing numbers as I was driving here, and I'm like, so what do I think of being 40? And my oldest baby being 18, and then I realized, I have been a mom almost longer than I've not been a mom. Wait, is that right? Yeah, no. So I've been
almost.
It's almost half and half.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is kind of just surreal. It's just surreal. Yeah.
That is surreal. On a side note that is not as surreal. I did the math one time when I was watching TLC because you were talking about how long you've been a mom. I did the math for the Duggar family, and that woman has been pregnant for almost as long as she's been half of her life.
Ever. And then my mom will say, I was pregnant and or nursing for 3 years or something. I'm like, you
solid, right?
Yes, you just feel like you're in this turnstile, and it just keeps going and going.
I was just amazed. I was like, wow, she is committed.
And do they have 19 kids now?
Yes.
19.
I believe so.
And counting.
Serious?
Well, that's what their show is called, and they have all these grandbabies. I don't
maybe
follow
it's
them,
but they're counting now. I don't really follow either, but I just when you mentioned that, I was like, oh man. I was trying to do that math recently and was like, how many babies and how long did she breastfeed them? She was probably still breastfeeding when she got pregnant again. But that's a discussion for another day.
Wow. But it's so great to have other moms on our show, and I know for me with my girls still being little, I just soak up every ounce of wisdom and experience I can get from other moms. So we're excited to hear how you handle all the things along with a business.
Well, I would love to know, did you always plan to have a big family? Did you always want a big family?
That's a good question. When Corey and I were engaged, my husband Corey, we were engaged, I was 18. He proposed to me the day of my high school graduation. He was 21. And I had this cute little journal where I basically write my plans and my dreams. And in there, I'm pretty sure I had 3 kids, but I remember there were times where I jumped around and it was 5 kids. So I don't know. I don't know what I was dreaming of when I was 18.
But can you share how many children you grew up? Like how many?
Yes, I grew up with 8 brothers. I was the
That's
youngest.
a lot of brothers.
That's a lot. Yeah, and people usually there's certain assumptions. I'm curious, what's your assumption? If you dare say, when you hear of a girl who has 8 older brothers, you're like, oh, she must be.
Oh, you were the youngest?
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, my sister has 3 boys, and then she finally had a girl, and, like, their daughter, she is, like, their little princess, because my sister always wanted a girl, and they, like, dote on her, and, like, she can do no wrong.
Okay.
But I don't get that vibe from you. I feel like it's either that, or it's, like, you're one of the boys. Because that's all you're around.
I would have said protect it, but also I have one older brother, and he kind of just, like, oh, there's my sister, whatever. So I think of 8 brothers would all be like, oh, there's my sister, just more brothers.
Yeah. So some people growing up, they would ask me, oh, what's it like having 8 brothers? And my answer was often like, I don't know anything different. It's normal to me. But now, like, looking back and having one daughter with 4 sons, I know now the whole princess thing, I think they were kind of afraid of. Okay. I don't know if they would use the word fear or afraid, but that would be a concern for them. They did not want me to be some spoiled little princess thing. So I had to suck it up. I had to man up, be one of the guys, and there's perks to that. But yeah, I'll give you something to cry about was also part of the environment.
God was preparing you for then having 4 sons and 1 daughter, which I'm sure you do so well. So
is your daughter also your youngest?
No, she's not. I have 3 boys, then Karis, she's 13, and then our baby Aiden, 10, is 10.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So getting married at a young age, then all these kids. When in this whole mom process did you start to take on a business?
Okay. Well, photography started when I was 14, actually. I worked for a sports photographer. It was my little part-time job on the weekends that I would help him line up the kids for the soccer teams and whatever.
Oh, that's fun.
It was. I mean, I was making, $7.50 an hour or something like that.
That's such a great job.
It was. And he taught me how to use the reflector shield, and he taught me how to the basics of the camera. And then eventually, when I was 18, he let me borrow his equipment so I could photograph my first wedding by myself and different stuff like that. So it's something that I was mentored in, trained in, took courses in.
Whose wedding was it that you photographed?
It was my banker lady. It was a very small, intimate wedding. I did not do a good job. I didn't. This is well before digital too. My tripod was crooked the whole time. So I can't even describe the work that takes to straighten them out when it's not. There was no such thing as Lightroom.
Yeah.
So anyway, cool experience.
Everyone has to start somewhere.
Yeah,
so
I think they paid me $50 to do this for them and paid for all my film and all this stuff. But
now, when you started to help with the sports pictures when you were 14, did you know photography or camera was something you enjoyed, or was it just I need to get a job?
Okay. Boy, my only dream was to be a wife and a mom. Okay. When I was a little girl, I thought it'd be really cool to be a cashier and stuff like that. Did you want to be a cashier?
I would play things like that. I would play bus driver a lot.
Oh, cool. And, I didn't dream of that.
We had like a kitchen counter. It was so 80s. It was like a kitchen bar type thing, like an island, but it was connected. So like
a peninsula.
Yes. And it had stools, and I would line them up. Like there was 5, so I would do 2 by 2, and then I would sit on the one in the front, and put all my animals or dolls on the other stools, and
play bus driver.
Yeah, I remember doing that a lot. So I
learn
had
something new every day. I'll tell you what, though, those bus drivers are amazing.
They are. They are.
That's good dreams.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, Jen, because I feel like that's such a different job for a teenager to want.
It is.
I'm like, I should remind that of my girls when they get older, go find that kind of job.
Yeah, it fell into my lap. Yeah. And I'm very thankful for that. My first little camera was bought for me probably a year or 2 before that. And I loved it. So I would do photo shoots with my friends and stuff. But I honestly was dreaming of being a wife and a mom, and met my husband when I was 15, and we were dating and got engaged. And, this is well before social media. And we moved 2 hours away from family when we first got married. So no one knew this new girl in church and whatever was a photographer in part because I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the confidence to tell anybody. So it was very much on the down low, but very much something. I mean, you guys know the more kids you have, the more hobbies you kind of give up or put on hold or surrender.
I was going to say the more things then I start to think I want to do.
Well, that's part of the human mind too.
Yeah.
I can't do it, so I want it more.
Right, possibly. Or you just meet other people doing all the things and it's
you think
exciting. Yeah.
So photography was the one thing that I was like, that's something I can't lay down.
And you could do that as a mom. I feel like the whole business side is what you make it. Like if you have a big booming business, it could be much harder to juggle with kids. But I feel like photography, at least as a fellow creative, like that's one of the things that you could edit once they're in bed. You could, well, that leads me to another question because I'm thinking about editing on your computer in Lightroom. Because you started with film. Do you feel like, how do you just feel like that affects your skill set now? Yeah. Like how was that transition?
Yeah, okay. Now I go by my kids' ages, then my 14-year-old was in the womb. So 14 years ago is when I bought my first digital camera. Yes. Okay. So I was shooting a wedding with film and it was still at that gifting stage. I was like, I just didn't have the confidence to have anybody pay me. I'm like, you just pay for everything. You pay for double prints, blah, 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 blah. If you want to gift me, I got a lot of grocery gift cards and stuff like that. This particular wedding gave me a $400 cash gift. And my husband was like, it's time. Go digital. Like, you can do this. And so in
what a
that,
good husband.
Oh, he has always been very supportive of this thing. Very thankful for that. So in that time, 14 years ago, was when a lot of photographers were like, go digital, go digital. Film is old. Film is dying. Film is dead, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but I'm scared, but it's a computer and I'm going to have to learn the whole thing all over again. Right. So I was very slow, very reluctant to change to digital. And then once I switched to digital, it freaked me out because I thought it was a computer in my hands and I didn't know what to do with it. And so I just went back to like the very, very basic stuff of just put the thing on automatic and let it do what it's doing. And I basically ditched a lot of the stuff that I learned while using film. I think I'm answering your question.
Yeah.
I ditched a lot of the stuff that I learned for years because I was intimidated by this new little machine. And then eventually I realized I'm not doing my work well. I need to go back to my foundation, back to film, back to what I learned, merge it here. And that now, about 2 years ago, even turned into me owning film and digital. So I carry this harness that has 3 cameras hanging on me, 2 film cameras, 1 digital camera, and it's awesome. I love it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I love film. It gives the look that both of them have their place. I'll just say that. Both have their place, and that's why I wear both on my shoulders at the same time.
Do you feel like a lot of clients or people that are looking into your work, like that resonates with them, the fact that you still use film? Because I feel like that's probably not as common, but seems really special.
I think some are like, okay, I don't know. They're like, whatever, do your thing. I like the end result. And if that's how you get to the end result, whatever. So some are like that. And someone recently was asking me at the end of a session, kind of why I do film. And I was describing to some degree about the richness and the depth that it has. And he was saying, oh, it's kind of like what musicians say about records. A record has a different sound than a digital recording would have. So I'm like, that's probably...
Well, that is a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's probably something there. So as far as clients go, some people are totally into it and excited about it and love that they get to be part of that and be captured in that way. While other clients are like, okay, do your thing, Jen, whatever.
Well, I feel like that's such a comment on a lot of industries as a whole and even someone in your age demographic. I would say my age demographic too, where you've seen such a shift in things, but you're still have the training and the knowledge of an older way of doing it and merging that with a new way, I feel like makes you more well-rounded. I know as a teacher, I've been teaching for 10 years, so I've seen the pendulum swing. I've seen different things come and go. So even when new things come, I still have all that background knowledge of the old way. And then it's how can we merge that together?
yeah, you have a real solid foundation, a background that says there's some weight to this here.
Right.
And that's really cool. Yeah. I guess that's with anything then, if you have a history with it.
And I love that your husband was such a catalyst in you like going forward and trying something new, which is so great. I know before we started taping, we were just chatting about husbands and how important it is for them to be a cheerleader for you. But
and not everybody has that.
Yeah, I've been talking to several people about that recently, and how just like I love hearing great marriages. I love hearing about supportive husbands, supportive wives who are in it with you, and I love that he pushed you, and that sounds like it's what you needed.
Yes, yep. Fear would be my well, it would hold me back, and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, he definitely was like, "It's okay.
Right.
You can invest in yourself."
Yeah. What does he do out of curiosity? Is he somebody that is like totally opposite type of job, hands-on, or is he also something creative?
Yeah, good question. He's kind of been all of the above, honestly. We moved away from home right after we got married because he started college at age 22 to be a youth pastor. So we spent 7 years in Northeast PA doing college and seminary and all that stuff. So the youth pastor in him, definitely there's that creative in there. There's that youthfulness in there. There's that entrepreneur even in there and stuff like that.
Ideas. I feel like you've got to be such an ideas person.
He is an ideas person, big time. And I would be like, the manager's like, that's a great idea. Let's get those little ducks in a row for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is that. He's in a season right now where he resigned from ministry. This month is 4 years ago. So he is working outside painting lines on roads. And so, yeah, that is different. That's not a creative side. That's his it's his mathematical side, but it's also his training side. He trains a lot of guys, and what's a line that he uses? He likes to help others have the tools to succeed. So yeah, I guess there would be a constant thread in there because he wants to see me succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And so your husband being a youth pastor, obviously faith is really important to both of you and to your family. How has that impacted your work and your family life?
My everything.
Everything.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Everything.
This is one of the things, just to interrupt. When I first met you, it stood out so much to me. And I told Christine, we need to have her on our podcast because I left the first time I spoke with you just feeling like, wow, I feel really inspired just from our conversation. I don't even remember what all we covered.
So
we were
cool.
talking about
I love it.
You're designing you a new website. But just hearing about how passionate you were for this project you're going to tell us about shortly, I was feeling really inspired and was just like, wow, this is really neat how she's using her faith in her creative business and to help other people. It's just really cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is where I get so long-winded. My faith. How has my faith impacted my family and my business? That's the foundational question that I will go back to when I get distracted.
And then you just take that and go wherever the Spirit leads you.
Run with it. Okay, so family. Like I mentioned early on, my passion was always to be a wife and a stay-at-home mom. That was my dream, and I am living my dream come true. And as we all know, dream come trues are hard. You guys are living it. The daily life is hard. But it's still your dream. It's still what you want to do. So my faith, my Savior, my God, Jesus, he has been the foundation of getting through that dream come true, that hard daily stuff. He's the anchor in the early morning. He is what gets me through the day. And how the business and faith is merged into the family is definitely by faith. Because as you heard 14 years ago, even buying that digital camera was like, oh, can I do this? And is it okay for me to invest in me? I have babies and I should be investing in them and whatever. So that's been a really slow growth journey for me to learn that there is space to invest in me. And that's been, that's required faith. That's required God showing me that he loves me, and I need to have myself nurtured as well.
Yeah.
So
that's
photography,
so true.
yeah. And I don't fully get that, but I am learning to embrace it and jump
Well,
up
it's
and down
hard.
with
I
it.
feel like, I mean, on the note of being able to invest in yourself, not just in the form of self-care, but when you have a business, like really financially investing in yourself when you know, like, well, our family has other bills and other expenses and we have kids. I can relate because I feel like my husband wouldn't bat an eye, like, if it was his business, and he's not a sole owner. His parents are still, his father is still the owner, but him and his brother will be owners, and I hear about, like, what they're putting into their business, and I'm like, when that's ours one day, that's how it will be. And, like, we are very gracious. We have, a company truck, and they pay for his gas and things like that. But it's just a different level of, okay, I need to get a new computer. Like, that is my business. Like,
It's
if I don't have
okay.
a computer, I can't design websites. And it will be such a big deal for me. And I'm like, they just bought a new truck or a new piece of equipment that was like $200,000. And I'm upset because I need to buy like a $1,200 item. And it's okay. Like, if you're a mom, like, I feel like it goes back to mom guilt. Like, if you also have a business, like, what you're doing matters. And it's just as important as what your husband might be doing. And maybe your businesses are on the same size or scale, but that's something that I think a lot of women probably wrestle with. How do I grow this, but also be a good mom? And if you need to spend money to rent an office, or if you need to spend money to, get yourself a better camera, maybe you're a photographer, like, if that's going to inspire you and allow you to continue pursuing your passion, then I think that's something you definitely have a right to do. And
yeah, and that's been a huge learning curve for me, and continues to be. And so, and even looking back, going to a photo shoot early on, like, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? I'm leaving. I'm going to a session, and coming home. And there are times you come home and you don't have anything left to give to your kids. You know that as a teacher. And then there's times that you come home and you are like enriched and just like, oh, you're longing to give to your kids or give, receive, and it goes both ways. So always learning, be aware of that. But the faith, it's been a lot of getting out of the way of myself for me to believe that God wants to allow me to be enriched through this creative expression. God wants to even use me. Use me through this creative expression, through this medium. It takes a lot of getting out of the way of myself. I recognize there was a lot of false humility, and I don't even fully understand what that means to explain it. But I know it's to be true. I had to get out of the way of myself. Anyway, and as the journey has been progressing, and as God has been using photography in new and exciting ways, it is continuing, going back to that. This is okay, and I can't do this without God's help.
And to know what you're doing in your professional life and being faithful in that only, I think, enhances your ability to be faithful as a mom and to impact your children. And just, I feel really led lately that just because we all do these other things doesn't make us a bad mom. Just like being home all the time doesn't just make you a good mom innately.
Right.
It's how you do it and how you walk in your everyday trust of God's plan. And especially, I know with you, it sounds like a lot of those fears and doubt, like He really allowed you to conquer those. And I can't even imagine how that impacts the way you mother and lead your own children and what they are going through, because you are going through it every day.
And of course, I want my kids to know that they are valuable and and so they are worth being invested in. They're worth taking care of. They're worth all those things because God says they are. So if I'm saying that I don't need to take care of me and I can be, at the bottom of the to-do list, then I'm telling my kids it's the same for them.
Right.
I'm modeling that.
I would say you're living it right in front of them. And they'll remember that. They'll see that and they know that.
I never really flipped it that way, but that's really true. Like,
You're
I don't
always
need to feel
modeling.
guilty about, like, practicing self-care or telling them that, like, mommy's, you know, I'm working on something that's really important. Like, we will play in 20 minutes. Like, I want them to know that when they're older, like, that's fine. They can say, like, no, this is something I'm really passionate about, or, you know, this is something that I care a lot about. And
let's be real, kids this age our ages are going to whine no matter what. So even if you were playing with them, it's not sufficient. But
yeah, it's true. Yeah,
yes.
Just the stage we're in, Jen, that you're past a little bit. But
there's whining from adults and children alike, right?
Oh my gosh, I was gonna just share a funny story on a lighter note before we take a quick break here. So the other night, we put our girls to bed, and speaking of the whining and the complaining, my 4-year-old has been struggling to go to bed. She will make up anything like, oh, I'm scared of the dark. I'm like, it's not even dark yet. It's 6:30. And it's summertime. Like, the room is not even dark.
She's just
we were putting
ready.
them to bed early because it was my husband's birthday. We were just going to hang out for the evening. And we decided that, fine. Like, we had ordered sushi. We wanted to be able to eat it and hang out. But we were just sick of fighting with her. We gave up and said, you may lay in our bed. And our 2-year-old went to sleep in her bed. And so we got to have dinner. It was great. 10 o'clock. We're going back to bed. I go back, and Reagan's in her bed. So I had told her, you know, when we come back to sleep, we'll put you in your bunk bed. She was great. Carried her over to her room, put her to bed. And I looked down on the bottom bunk, and I realized my 2-year-old is not in her bed. And I was like, oh, great. She probably snuck over to our room because we let Reagan lay in our bed. So I go back and realize she is not there either. And I was like, where did she go? We were in our living room, which looks down the hallway to, like, where the bedrooms are. We have a ranch-style home, so it's not like she could have gotten by us. Like, we were sitting there the whole time. And I go back to their room, and I'm like, maybe she climbed into the top bunk. So I check the top bunk, and she is not there. And at this point, I'm beginning to panic a little bit because I'm like, where could she have gone? How did she disappear? I checked the baby's room because I was like, maybe she thought it was silly and climbed into his crib. She was not in his crib. So at this point, my husband and I are like, oh my gosh, put out an Amber Alert. Our child is missing. We're like, was their window open? Like, did somebody crawl out or crawl in? What's happening?
That's the worst.
It was really freaky, and we were looking everywhere, and then finally I went back to the baby's room and was like, why are all these stuffed animals and things on the floor? And I start picking them up and realize he has a little bench, like, by, like, he has like a window seat because he's like these pretty windows in there, and our 2-year-old, sound asleep, face down on the floor under this bench with all these stuffed animals, like, on her and around her. Like, she had made a little fort and fallen asleep. So we both had heart attacks. We were both, like, ready to, like, call the parents and tell them, like, something happened. She ran away in the middle of the night.
Right.
Like, we don't know where she is. But she never really even
And you
woke
both
up.
took pictures, right?
Oh, we did take a picture. I was like, you need to take a picture of her, like, hidden under here. Because first of all, she looks crazy uncomfortable. Second of all, like, I can't believe we couldn't find her. So
Don't you miss those years, Jen?
this is the phase of life that I am in. My 2-year-old has just been given us heart attacks. She's also the one that's gotten stitches and had all these accidents. And of course.
And is lost at night when you're at home anyway.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad everybody is found.
Oh, goodness.
Mom fail of the week.
No, my goodness,
yes.
no.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and be back with Jen to hear more about what she has coming up in her business and mom stuff.
Hey Thrivers! Today's episode is sponsored by Rachel Klein Marketing and Creative. That's right, that's my own personal business. If you've listened to the show, you've probably heard me talk about mom life and business a lot, but you might not know what I actually do. Well, since 2014, I've been designing websites and offering social media marketing services for small businesses. I work with companies here in PA and across the United States, and it's my goal to help small business owners grow their online presence with social media, SEO, and responsive website design. If you've been considering a new website in 2019, I want to personally invite you to schedule a consultation with me to review your existing website and receive a quote for a new mobile-friendly website that will highlight your skills and your services. You can find all the details at rachelkleincreative.com or email me at rachelkleincreative@gmail.com. Simply mention the Thrive Podcast.
So we are back. We have Jen Minninger with us today, and we have been talking about how faith has impacted her photography. And I would love to hear more about a project that you've been doing recently that you call Restorable.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. The best way when people ask me about Restorable or they ask me about layered photography is what I always say. I always ask, do you want the long, middle, or short version? So I'm going to give you the middle-ish, maybe longish. I don't know.
Perfect.
You're gonna it's like land the plane kind of thing if you need to.
Okay.
So the best way I know how to explain it is just to tell my story. Obviously, doing photography, and I talked about how God has just shown me that it's healthy to have this enrichment, and it's really cool to get to give others the enrichment of capturing their hearts and showing them their inward beauty through photography, or what they're blessed with through photography. So as that being my outlet and one of the very few things that I laid down with parenting, I'm putting my necklace in my shirt right now because I keep playing with it. And I was told that noises on, now I'm being real. I'm like, forget, this is the podcasting noises.
It's okay.
Anyway, so the necklace is in my shirt. Nobody can hear it.
Sneezing earlier. It wasn't me, although I am dealing with this sinus thing. It was Robbie. He's sleeping now. So, real life.
And he is really cute, and I've been watching him sleep. So my brokenness is kind of what I'm going to share a little bit about.
Sure.
One morning as I was sitting, and when we were talking about the parenting thing, one of the things that is really helpful for me in parenting is getting up before the kids, no matter their age, from babies to teenagers. It's helpful for me. I find it's best for my family if I get up before them and I just get grounded. I spend some time with God, spend some time reading. My mental focus isn't all there, so I actually got to write the word down that I'm reading to help me stay focused, and journaling. So one particular morning as I was sitting in my brokenness, actually in somewhat of a hopeless situation, and I was talking to God about it, and I was explaining to God how I feel. I was like, it's kind of like one of those cars in a junkyard, and I'm describing this. I'm a visual learner, so I'm describing this picture in my mind of this junkyard as I'm talking to God, and I'm one of those old cars that has weeds and vines growing up around it. It is rusted. The steering wheel is out. The motor is out. There's a tree growing up in the middle of it. It was obviously abandoned. It was obviously neglected. It was obviously left there for good. And in that visual that I'm picturing, anybody walking by would be like, well, there's no hope for that. That car's too far gone. That's its destiny is this state. It won't change from this state. And so as I'm sharing with God this state that I feel I am in, I also know that what God is whispering back to me, he says, yeah. And I'm like that car enthusiast or that mechanic that's walking through this junkyard and it's like, oh, she's so beautiful. And he's looking at me and he's like, I want to take her home. I want to make her run like she's never run before. She is not too far gone. There is so much hope for her. I want to make beauty out of these ashes. And so anyway, as I was having this conversation with God, which I would not have imagined at that time sharing with anybody because I'm like, that's just kind of weird. But God didn't think I was weird as I was pouring my heart out to him. I just felt this urge, like, I want to go to that junkyard. I want to find that junkyard and I want to take my cameras. I want to set them up on a timer and I want to take pictures of myself in that lineup of cars because while I'm in that lineup as one of the hopeless, I'm also in that lineup as the one where the mechanic wants to come in and just get the crane, get whatever it takes and pull me out and make me thrive. Thrive podcast. Coincidence.
Love it.
Yeah. So anyway, I kept this quiet little idea inside my own head because I just kind of thought it was weird. But at the same time, God was using this visual in my mind to encourage me. And I was like, I just kept feeling stronger. I want to go. I want to go to the junkyard. And I remembered with all that apprehension and that fear and all that stuff stirring inside of me, I remembered a story in the Bible where God sent Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a prophet, and God sent Jeremiah to a potter's house. And he did not send Jeremiah to get a new mug or a new cereal bowl. God sent Jeremiah to the potter's house to get a visual, and to get a tangible experience, a visual for Jeremiah in his particular situation to see who is the potter and who is the clay. And so I was like, okay, God, I'm not weird to go to this junkyard to get a visual, for you to show me who's the mechanic and what the mechanic can do, who's the broken. Anyway, God used Jeremiah's story to also kind of give me that nudge. Anyway, social media, I was doing my photography thing and keeping it very business. And as I was planning this junkyard project, I just kept feeling God saying, you're going to share this. And I was like, no, I don't want to. This is raw. This is vulnerable. I don't want people to judge me and think I'm weird or something. Obviously, weird was a thread going through my mind at the time. And I shared that with my husband, that I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I finally just knew God wanted me to share it. And so I told my husband, I said, that's fine. I'll share it, but I'm going to wait till after I do the project to let anybody know, because this is a business page and I want these pictures to be professional. And what if they don't turn out good? And so that's when he told me, he's like, now this sounds like performance. And I'm like, you're right. So I shared the day before I went to the junkyard, letting those who follow the photography page that I'm doing a personal project, and I will be sharing it. Next day, I spent the day in the junkyard, and it was an experience that God used. And then when I brought that experience home, those pictures home, I would spend time journaling through the pictures, asking questions. What does God see? What does Jen see? And what does God want Jen to see? And he just exploded all kinds of things in my heart. And because I was held accountable by sharing this online, I shared it on that social media page on my Facebook. And I was floored by the people that would come to me and say, from 20-year-old girls to 70-year-old men with tears in their eyes, saying, I needed this. This impacted me. And I'm sitting there humbled, like, okay, God, I get it. I need to get out of the way, and you want to use my brokenness. And it was a point of surrender that I have to keep surrendering. Not like a one-time surrender kind of thing, but it was that first surrender of like, okay, I get this. Anyway, that was 2017, February 2017. So that's 2.5 years ago. And it's been over a year now that I've felt this nagging, and different people have continued to come to me saying, what are you going to do with Restorable? And I kept saying, I don't know, receive from it, learn from it, get hope from it, be encouraged from it. But what the question was, yeah, that's great. And we know that. But God is also asking, how are you going to comfort others with the comfort you've received? Or are you going to encourage someone else with this encouragement that I've given you, Jen? And I knew a piece of Restorable that was missing was the piece, and this is feels so raw, feels so risky. But the piece that was missing was, okay, sure, I shared that sometimes we all feel like that piece of us is hopeless, or we all have that little piece inside of us. It's like, that won't change. Right. But what about the piece where we are looking at someone else and you're saying, maybe you're not verbally, or maybe you're not consciously, maybe it's a subconscious thing that you don't even want to admit, but that person or that people group or organization that you're like, yeah, but they'll never change. They will always have this piece of them that I will always, however you want to describe it. I knew that had to be captured as well. That part where I'm looking at someone else, or I'm looking at that other broken car, and I'm like, yeah, but that one, God, really, or that part of that one, really, God, that part of them will always be a lemon or whatever. So we hired a videographer, my husband and I, and we went to Cinematic Love Stories. I'm definitely throwing that in. Excellent photographer who he put his heart into this. And we went back to the junkyard together, and we captured one broken person and another broken person looking at each other in a junkyard, interacting with each other in a junkyard. And that's messy, because sometimes one broken person tries to fix the other broken, and that doesn't work. Anyway, so journaling through all of that, working through all of that, seeing what God wants to show me through those visuals is where I'm at right now. And at the same time, knowing that this is going to be launched really soon, and I'm on the verge of sharing that. Restorable 1 from 2017 will be shared, and now Restorable 2 of looking at the other broken one or the broken group, and seeing what God is encouraging me with through that part of the project. Hopefully that's going to be shared in about a month. And yeah, what God is going to do with that. And it's really cool. This capturing my own heart has also given women other women the opportunity to have their heart captured. And I call that layered photography, where it's not just what their sweater looks like or their hair looks like, it's what their heart looks like. Just like what my heart looked like in that junkyard. They need those layers to be captured. So now walking alongside and holding someone else's hand and giving them the opportunity, whether it's a junkyard or whatever.
So you've walked through this process now with some other people, essentially clients of yours for photography, have said, I want more than just pretty pictures.
Yes.
Like, can you take me through this process so that I can maybe, do you like walk them through like journaling through the photos, or do you just kind of hand them over and say like, do with them what you want? Or do you let them know like this was kind of the process that I found to be therapeutic for me? And how does that work?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it doesn't always look the same, because I feel like when when she comes to me and says, I think I want to do this layered photography thing, and we meet and she shares her story with me or whatever she feels safe sharing, and I take notes and observe and kind of play back, okay, is this what I'm hearing? And we probably meet at least twice, and together we create a visual experience to capture of what her heart looks like, what she needs, because we all need, I believe that there's power in putting our stuff putting words to our stuff. There's power in that. There's healing in that, to call something what it is rather than deny it. Sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes we need to see it, and that was my situation. So I help them create an experience where they can have pictures to see their heart. But that's theirs, and I feel like each one, and no matter whose pictures I'm taking, I feel strongly, these are your pictures, this is your heart. And this layer of photography stuff, it's kind of like sacred. It's really, sometimes needs to be held closely. And all of my personal projects, no, not everybody has seen them. They're for me. They're between me and God. But some of them who like Restorable, obviously others have seen. So once they get their pictures back, we meet together, if that's something she's comfortable with, or she can meet with her official therapist and go through the pictures and work through it that way. But we meet together, and I remind her of the experience. Okay, this is what you said to me. And we kind of replay the experience and work through, what do you see? What does God see? What does God want you to see? And then it's up to her from that point what she wants to do with it. Some want me to share on their behalf through my blog, because they want to encourage someone else with the encouragement they received. Some want to use their own words and share for themselves, for the same reason. And some, they're not in that place. It's not safe for them to share their deepest heart stuff. So it all depends, Rachel. Yeah,
that's really
unique to them.
Wow.
But it's really an honor, though. I mean, you guys know what you're doing impacts people, and we were saying this beforehand. It is an honor. It's so cool to be able to be part of something that's bigger than you, and you're just being enriched just by God using you. And
I feel like even it resonates with me what you started to talk about at the beginning of our show about the fear that you had going into your whole business and whether you could do it. And obviously that your husband was cheering you on, but you got to the point where you could trust that God had a plan in this, and you stepped forward. And even hearing you share your heart for this project, I'm sure there was a lot of fear in there, and you're helping other people face that and really process through it, like how much of a reminder it is that there's probably a lot of areas that fear plays a part for us. We may not even know it, but you're just, I feel like, bringing that to light, that there's so much healing, so much joy that God has waiting for us when we recognize our fears and then desire to get past that.
yeah.
And I like that you do it in this visual way. I feel like for some people that can be so helpful. Like I am a visual person. So I just love the idea of like you said, having this creative experience, but then being able to look back on it and be like, wow, like these are pretty, or, in this moment, like I look like I'm falling apart, and maybe that's what I see, but God sees like this is when I was having a breakthrough moment or something, and realizing like something had to change or something had to give, or maybe I need to let go of something or accept something. And that's really, really unique. And I just think it's really inspiring. So in addition to this, I do want to mention to our listeners, you do other photography. So this is just one facet of your photography business. Yeah. But you primarily do families, portraits, things like that?
Yeah, I say layered photography is a service. One of my photography services that I do, just like portrait photography is a service, or a wedding photography or whatever. Those are different types of photography that how I serve others with my cameras. And it just so one of the continual threads, no matter what, whether it's portraits or whatever, layered photography, myself it can't be denied that I am passionate about capturing hearts. And this was way before layered photography. I love getting in that environment with a family or a couple, or even a senior portrait, where I'm like, okay, how do I get inside of her and let that spark come out of her eyes? Because everybody, I think, smiles with their eyes, especially. I can't smile. Oh, I'm smiling right now. I can't smile with just my teeth. It looks cheesy, but once you get that natural smile out of me, it comes out of my eyes. And so to get someone's heart out and to give them that ease and comfort, or them to see how their husband looks at them and allow that environment, it's capturing hearts of love. And I don't know if I would have articulated that before. But now I see, okay, there is a constant that is stayed the same, and I love it.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I want to before we wrap up, with favorite things, because I have a couple favorite things this week. This is
my new favorite thing.
I know, right? Layered photography could be a favorite thing.
But just, wow, I love it.
But before we wrap up, do you have a favorite thing, Christine?
Oh, well, I was just going to recommend for you and your babe whose socks fall off, a clothing line that is, I believe it's Australian, called Bonds. Have you heard of them? My sister-in-law uses them. I saw my nieces and nephews wearing them.
I've never heard of this.
They're mostly pajamas, but they're footed ones, and they just have like
Bonds, like James Bond.
Yep, BONDS. Where the feet have like the foldable part that makes them like footies, but then it unfolds. Okay. The hands for the like maybe 12-month and unders, the hands also come open and unopened. And we got like a 6-month pair for my oldest daughter, and it probably lasted her, no joke, from like 4 up until like 9 or 10 months, because they just stretch. They're so soft. And they zipper from the top and the bottom. So
nice.
Changing the baby comes from the feet. Yeah. So like even for your babe who's like longer, and he's obviously going to keep growing, getting a smaller size, he would fit in for a while, and just like super fun patterns. Yes. And they have good sales, not too expensive. It might just take a little bit longer than normal, what we're used to for shipping. Look, I'm like a infomercial because it's coming from, like I said, I believe Australia. So BONDS, I will share a picture because Nora has several, like we got several sizes of them because we love them so much.
Oh, well, good.
So maybe that's what Robbie needs, Bonds.
Yes. Robbie is teeny tiny.
Yeah, so this could be a great option for him. Yeah. What about you, Jen? What is your favorite thing?
My favorite thing this week?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this week, yesterday, I would definitely say my kids, just how from an 18-year-old boy to a 10-year-old boy and in between, how they made me feel special on my birthday. Just, yeah, so cool. Just like, your little girl who gives you this drawing and thinks you're the queen or whatever. Yeah. That's just kind of melts your heart and you want to savor it. But and they say, soak it up, it won't last forever, but there will be threads of it that come back. And yesterday was one of those where they consciously chose, as some of them almost grown up kind of people, and younger, they consciously chose to allow me to feel honored and to feel special and to buy me things. We were talking about essential oils earlier.
Yes.
My oldest son went on Amazon and got me a diffuser for my car, so I was diffusing as I was driving here. I know, how cool is that?
Knew you.
So maybe that should be my physical favorite thing.
Yeah.
But this week, my favorite thing is how my kids honored.
Way to go.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's great.
Very cool.
So there's hope for the future
Oh,
that
yes.
they will, you know, maybe even better than a hand-drawn picture would be actual things. 'Cause
You know what?
mamas
They're both
love
beautiful.
good things.
They're both beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Rachel's
that's
favorite
exciting.
thing?
So, favorite things. The one I just have to say, disclaimer, I sound so stuffy.
I told you you feel probably worse
It's been
about
getting
it.
worse
But
since we've been recording.
you're doing a great
just
job.
Bear with my stuffy nose here. It's been like the never-ending sinus infection for me.
just shove a tissue up your nose or something.
Well, then it'll sound worse.
I know. I do that though because it just keeps it all up in there and it gets annoying when it's always.
I don't think I would be able to focus talking if Rachel had a tissue hanging out her nose.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Well, I did it Insta video probably about a week ago. I started using a natural deodorant,
Oh, nice.
not an antiperspirant, with, I don't know if it's organic, but it doesn't have any of the chemicals. It doesn't have the aluminum in it, and it's called Lumi. And I had seen a Facebook video
Say
for
it again.
Lumi, Lume.
Okay, it sounded. This is your stuffy nose. It sounded like a bee. I thought you said Luby. I was like, what? Lumi. Okay,
Lume with an M.
got it.
Okay. And anyway, I said, I was like, I'll let you guys know how it goes. Because I was asking on our Insta stories if anyone had detox ideas. Because I've heard from some people that you have to detox your pits and do all this stuff before it'll really work. And I was like, I don't have time for this. I just need deodorant. So I've been using it for a week now. And I feel like it's great. I mean, I've also had this sinus thing, so I can't smell very well.
I'm sure someone would have told you.
But when I have had those spurts of oh my gosh, I blew my nose the right way and I can taste and smell for the next 30 minutes, I haven't stank. And my husband has told me that it smells good. So,
and you feel good. Your body's responding well.
Yes, I feel my body's responding really pretty well. I like that
Awesome.
when I shower, it doesn't have that white residue.
Yeah.
Even when you get the no show or whatever, deodorant, I feel by the end of the day, it's kind of
There's still a film there with something.
And
You said it's not an antidepressant. No, that's not what you said. Antiperspirant.
I think antiperspirants are the ones that have aluminum.
Okay, so do you still sweat with it?
You do, but I feel like I have not been sweating as much, and I don't feel like I smell when I sweat. I mean, I don't know all the science of it, but from the video I watched on Facebook, I was first of all swayed because it's a female-owned business. The lady that developed it was a mom, and she was an OBGYN. So the cool thing about Lumi compared to Native or some of the other natural kinds, I know Young Living has still natural deodorant, but what's cool about Lumi is you can put it anywhere. She actually developed a tube of a anti-smell type cream because she had, as an OBGYN, people complaining about odor down there. So the cool thing is that you can get Lumi in a tube, you can get it in a stick for deodorant, and it's safe anywhere on your body. So
that's neat.
You've been
And with you being a nursing mom and having Robbie close to your deodorant.
Yeah.
That's a
also
good
perfect.
all-over stick, it sounds like.
Yes, you can put it on your feet if you have stinky feet. Apparently,
Wow,
it
that's
works
good.
for all kinds of things.
I should look into it. I feel like this is the next new up-and-coming thing is your deodorant. Obviously, over the summer, people cared about the safe bug repellents, and now they care about the deodorant. So,
Well, I just feel like
look
there's
into
a
that.
handful of other things I've been swapping and was this is something
why not?
you put on every day. And I read an article about how they've been linking the aluminum to breast cancer, and I don't have the gene, I don't know that it runs in my family, but I don't know.
You
I
be
just decided I
proactive.
would give it a try, and it's pretty affordable. I mean, it's more than a regular deodorant, but it was $12, I think. And if it lasts me longer because I don't have to reapply it or whatever.
Nice.
Who knows? That's my favorite thing.
Cool.
We've learned a lot
I
here
like deodorant
today.
Yeah. So now you know you don't have to detox your pits with this stuff. I feel like it's been working fine.
When you know better, you do better.
Is that your
Hopefully.
mantra of the day?
I guess so. But it's good. I mean, I do appreciate learning, healthier ways of living and being and being able to pass it along to my family.
I like the idea of journaling. The one thing that I think I take away from this, obviously I've talked to you about Restorable before, but the thing that I always think of is how I should start journaling. Because I feel like it'd be so valuable.
People say I'm not the best at like just sitting down in the quiet, but I always think, oh, theoretically that seems like a great idea. Maybe I'll get there.
You could do it while you watch Big Brother.
Oh, see, I
You'd be writing about Big Brother.
I need to focus. Like I want to win. HOH. Anyway, that's a whole other episode. Well, Jen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
On our 50th for your 40th.
That's right.
You know I did that.
What an honor.
Woo.
You were a joy to speak to. Can you share with our listeners how they can find you and get connected with you?
Awesome. Jen Menninger Photography. I'm looking at Rachel because she's helping me with this new website. Trust me, you're going to want to see the website probably, I don't know, a month or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, jenmenningerphotography.com. Look that up, layeredphotography.com. It's all in the works right now. It's in the midst of being changed. But social media might be an easier way. So that's Jen Menninger Photography. Instagram, Facebook. And you're definitely going to want to follow along if you're interested in Restorable because it's a pretty big deal that it's going to be launched soon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm so excited for it.
Well, we'll have to check out that website coming soon.
Yes. Not yet. We're still working on it.
Well, I got to get the information to Rachel for her to do anything.
Oh,
it's okay.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, your faith, sharing the heart that you have for others. It was, just an inspirational morning. I think we all need it. So
definitely.
Thank you. And mamas, wherever you're listening, however you're feeling today, know that in the midst of all the things, you are doing incredibly amazing.
Thank you so much for listening today. You are a part of a growing community of moms, business owners, and women who are here to encourage and inspire. You can connect with Rachel at Rachel Klein Creative on Instagram or rachelkleincreative.com. To keep up with Christine and her latest events, follow her business journey on Instagram at Bellenberry Co. And if you want to be first to know about upcoming guests and giveaways, sign up for the Thrive Podcast email list today. Simply visit rachelkleincreative.com/The Thrive Podcast or follow at The Thrive Podcast on Instagram. If you've enjoyed listening this week or you've already added our show to your favorites playlist, we'd love for you to write us a review on iTunes. Your support and positive feedback allows us to keep encouraging moms and business owners each week.